Hey, it's Sue in the restricted section. Today I am going to be talking about the book Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and I also thought that it would be cool if I tried to make myself look like the monster as she describes him in the book. So I'm going to attempt to do that. I have not practiced this makeup at all, so it could be a complete fail, but we'll find out together. So, to start off, Frankenstein, in case you're unaware, is about a man who creates this being and then upon seeing its hideous countenance, immediately rejects it. And then this being sets out into the world on its own and is again rejected by society because of its appearance, and ends up turning into a murderous, vengeful creature. The description, because I'm going to start in on the makeup, the description of the monster that she uses, this is Victor Frankenstein, the monster's creator, describing it when he first sees it. And it says, his yellow skin scarcely covered the work of muscles and arteries beneath. His hair was of a lustrous black and flowing, his teeth of a pearly whiteness, but these luxuriances only formed a more horrid contrast with his watery eyes that seemed almost of the same color as the dun white sockets in which they were set, his shriveled complexion and straight black lips. So that's the description I'm working off of. Here, a bit different than what you see in TV and movies most of the time. So let's see how it goes. I'm also drinking coffee because it's morning time out of my awesome dinosaur mug. I also have a mirror down here that I'm going to be looking at, FYI. So here's my finished makeup look. I don't know, how do you guys think it turned out? I'm not sure. It looks creepy, that's for sure. To reiterate the description, his yellow skin scarcely covered the work of muscles and arteries beneath. That's why I did the veining. His hair was of lustrous black and flowing. His teeth were of pearly whiteness. But these luxuriances only formed a more horrid contrast with his watery eyes. I don't know, I don't have watery eyes really, but imagine it. That seemed almost of the same color as the dun-white sockets in which they were set, his shriveled complexion and straight black lips. So, I tried. Maybe I'll get closer. So, now let's discuss Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This book was originally titled Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. Prometheus in Greek myth created mankind, so you know, it's easy to see that Victor Frankenstein is considered the modern Prometheus in this story. And in the myth of Prometheus, Prometheus tricks Zeus into accepting poor quality offerings from humans, and so as punishment Zeus takes fire away from mankind, and then Prometheus brings fire back, gives fire back to mankind, and then is punished by Zeus, and his punishment, I think, is that he has his liver pecked out every day by eagles and dies every day, but he's immortal, so he comes back. So Prometheus is sort of in a way punished by his creation or because of his creation, and that also happens to Victor Frankenstein. But in Victor Frankenstein's case, he is punished by his creation because he abandoned it. The story was also heavily influenced by Paradise Lost, which I haven't read Paradise Lost, but, you know, again, clearly Victor could be seen as a god figure. He created life. And then the monster is sort of a Satan, considered like Satan. And in the story, he actually says at one point something along the lines of, like, I could have been your Adam, but instead I'm a fallen angel. Because Victor, you know, whereas God created Adam in his image, and he was, you know, man was considered beautiful and was accepted and treated well by God, Victor instead created this like hideous monster who he then immediately rejected, and who was then rejected by all of humanity because of his appearance. I don't know, Frankenstein brings up a lot of, I mean, I think it could be interpreted a lot of different ways, because, you know, there's this obvious, you know, Victor's playing God and he's then punished for that. He also warns this person. The story's told actually as letters from this man named Walton. I think that was his name. He's writing to his sister, and he's a very ambitious man, and he sort of has this obsession with kind of becoming famous a little bit, I think, and that's this kind of the same way Victor was at the beginning of his story, is he's so fixated on like doing something great and innovative, and he fixates on this because he wants the notoriety. And then he ends up creating this monster out of it and not telling anyone because he's so appalled by his own creation. And so he warns Walton, you know, not to be like him. So maybe there's this sort of fear of ambition. I don't know. I'm not really sure where that was going. I feel like ambition isn't a bad thing most of the time. Maybe the warning against doing things for the purpose of being famous or something along those lines. And then I also feel like there's maybe this fear of perhaps of like giving birth to something or having a child, because in a sense the monster is Frankenstein's child. When the monster is first created, it is like a newborn, like it doesn't know anything. It knows nothing of the world. It doesn't know how to speak. It doesn't know how to read, any of those things. So it is very much like a newborn child. but it turns into this monster, and in a sense, Victor turns it that way, even though he didn't actually raise it. Maybe I'm way off base there, but I feel like there could be some sort of like fear of creating any life, and since it's written by a woman, I mean, she can create life. Going on the whole childbirth thing too, it's something like, I'll admit I kind of have a fear of being a parent or of having children. I think I have this fear of like losing my sense of self if I had a child, and sort of just existing for the child. And there was actually a quote in here that I really liked that could sort of support that theory, I think. And it's when the monsters asked Victor to create a woman for him, a companion, because he can't find companionship in humanity because everyone is immediately afraid and repulsed by him. So he wants Victor to create someone that he promises, like, just make me this companion and then we'll go disappear and you'll never see us again. And Victor at first agrees, but then he decides, no, I can't do that. I can't bring another monster into the world, basically. And the monster is threatening him and saying, if you don't do this, then I'm going to, basically threatening to like kill everyone he loves. And the monster says, "Slave, I before reasoned with you, but you have proved yourself unworthy of my condescension. Remember that I have power. You believe yourself miserable, but I can make you so wretched that the light of day will be hateful to you. You are my creator, but I am your master. Obey." I don't know, I feel like that could be like into sort of becoming the slave of your children. I don't know. Again, I could be way off base. Yeah, I really ended up enjoying Frankenstein. I forgot to even mention that Betty read this with Jordan from the Bookie Babe. So we read this and spoke about it. I enjoyed it more than she did. I don't think she really cared for it, but yeah, there's just so many themes you can pick up on, or so many different ways that you can interpret it. I think that it makes it really interesting, and I also love that both Victor Frankenstein and this monster he creates are villains. Victor, he abandons his creation and turns it into a monster because, who wouldn't be angry and vengeful? The only people that the monster does kill people in the story, but it's only people who are close to Victor because he's seeking vengeance against his creator who has abandoned him. And it's like, he's murdering people, which is obviously a villainous bad thing to do, but you can understand why he's angry and why he has become this monster. You understand why. And with Victor, I sympathize with him. I've heard a lot of people say that they don't sympathize with Victor at all. I still do in some ways. I mean, yes, it was very wrong for him to just abandon his creation. And then he comes home after he runs out of his house after first seeing his creation come to life. And he, is freaked out and runs away, and then comes back and it's gone. And he's just kind of like, oh, thank God. Doesn't even think about the fact that he let loose this creature out into society. But later on in the story, when he's being tormented and all these people he loves are being killed, and I start to feel bad for him again. Because then it's easy to see how he would perceive the monster as a monster, because at that point it is. But yeah, I really love those types of villains in stories too, where you can sympathize with them, you can see where they're coming from. Those are my favorite types of villains. Anyway, like I said, I really enjoyed this. I gave it 3.5 stars on Goodreads. I don't know, after thinking about it some more, I'd probably bump it up to at least 4. My only issues with it were maybe that, I don't know, it seemed unrealistic that the monster spoke so eloquently whenever he hadn't known how to speak for that long. And it also, I felt like there was not much distinction between different voices. There's really only 3. Well, I suppose that could be accounted for the fact that it's actually Walton recounting the story to his sister, so in a sense Walton is narrating the entire thing. So I guess that could make sense to why there doesn't seem to be much distinction between different voices in the book. But anyway, yeah, I actually liked this book more than I was expecting to. I actually started to read this like 2 or 3 years ago and didn't get very far in it and put it down because the first bit, reading the first part of Walton's letters, I was a little rough because you're like, what? Who is this guy? Why should I give a shit about him? But then once Victor starts telling his story, I got really into it. And then the second half of the story started to kind of drag again for me. I don't know why, but overall I did really like it. Yeah, let me know how you think I did on my makeup. It actually looks pretty cool in real life, but I feel like it's maybe not translating that well on camera. Yeah, let me know what you thought of the book as well, if you've read it. And that's gonna be it for me. If you have not subscribed yet, please do. And if you liked this whole makeup thing, I don't know, maybe I could do it some more for other book characters. Let me know if you thought it was cool or not, or if you think it sucked. Yeah, and there'll be links down below where you can find me and Megan and other places on the internet. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.